Hi, it's Future from Sewmate. If you want to see how I sew these short pants with a fly zipper, pockets and turn-up cuffs, please join me. Thank you.
So I'll be using this beautiful polycotton fabric for these shorts and the trouser zipper. I also have my patterns here, so now we're going on to the cutting. As you can see, I've gone ahead and cut out all my pattern pieces. So before we remove the pattern paper at the top, we have to make sure that we mark the dart here. So I've got an awl. I'll just pierce it through all the 3 layers to mark my dart. So now we can start sewing our short. As you can see, we've got 2 sets of waistband pieces, so you have to make sure that you interface one set of it like I've done here. I've already interfaced one set of my waistband and the other one will just remain plain like this. Okay, so that's the first step. So now we're gonna go ahead and sew on our darts and tucks for the pants. I'm just gonna go and do that now. Okay, so we finished sewing on the darts and the tucks. So next we're going to assemble the pockets. So take your pocket facing and just pin it along. Now just go and sew along the pockets with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. So the next step is for us to notch through this cave and this one. Just put notches throughout so that we'll be able to turn it over. Next thing, we're going to understitch our pockets so that they sit well inside the pants. So what you're going to do is to just lift the seam allowance to your left and just roll over the pocket on top of it like this, and then just understitch through here the whole way to the bottom. Okay, let's do that. So now that the understitching is done, we're just gonna go ahead and give this pocket a little press so that it sits well. So next, take your pocket bags and just align them like this onto the pocket. So pin along here. Stitch along the edges of the pockets here and overlock them. So I've done that, I've sewn around and overlocked. It's looking nice now. If you don't have an overlocker, you can actually do a small zigzag stitch around. It still works the same. Okay. Next thing is for us to attach the pocket to the pant. So what we're gonna do is to make a stitch which is less than our seam allowance, just to make sure that it holds together in this side as well, from this point to the end here. Let's do that to both our pockets. Now overlock along the crotch curves for the front pants, or you can do a little zigzag stitch if you don't have an overlocker. For the fly piece, just overlock all around it. And the fly shoot, remember this one that we folded, the fly shoot, overlock from this curved edge and up to this right side. Okay, with the right side of your pant up, take the left side of the pant and take your zipper fly. Now pin the zipper fly along the crotch area here. Now go ahead and stitch along this edge here with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. After that, turn this over and do another understitching so that this will roll over nicely into the pant. Okay. Now we're gonna take both our front pieces and put them right sides together, one on top of the other like this. Okay, so next thing, we're going to sew from the notch here all the way around the crotch, and we're going to leave a space of about 2 centimeters, 1.5 to 2 centimeters. Let's do that. Okay, we've attached the two together. That's done. So now the next thing for us to do is to take the right side of the pant and fold it and iron it backwards by 0.7 centimeters. Our seam allowance is 1 centimeter here, so I'm gonna make it a bit smaller to about 0.7 centimeters. Next thing, take your fly shield and just go and put your zipper with right side up just next to the overlocked stitch there, and you just make a stitch at the edge. So now we're gonna go and take the iron side and just lay it here next to the zipper and just go and do a top stitching here. Just gonna pin it up here. So now just go and do a nice top stitch along the edge here. So that's done. So take your left side and make sure to iron your fly back, okay? After that, just cover the zipper here, making sure you have a nice continuous straight line from the stitched edge here. Just make sure that everything is nice and straight and just pin along here. Now that you've pinned the front, turn your pant over like this and just grab the fly piece in the zipper. And what you're gonna do now is to just make a stitch here, just to the zipper and the fly. That's it. Otherwise you won't be able to get into your pant. So we just pin this out of the way. So now we're gonna go ahead and make another top stitching right here through the zipper and the fly. Okay, that's done. Pin this out of the way. Now get this side and just pin it down as well. So what you're gonna do now, you're gonna put in the top stitching for the fly. So now going to the machine, just make a stitching along the fly piece here, okay? So the stitching will come at the top here and you'll have a nice straight line. Okay, the top stitching is done. You can go ahead and give it a bit of a press so that it looks good. Get these two pieces and make a stitching here. Now we're taking the back pieces and lay them on top of the front piece and just pin them along. Then we're going to sew along the side seams. So now we finished attaching the side seams and I just went ahead and overlocked them. You can use a zigzag stitch if you want. Next step is for us to sew the inseams. So remember we left a little gap at the edge the other time. So you're just gonna take the inseam of one leg and just put it in there. Attach them together. And you do the same on this side too. So now you're just going to sew from here, going all the way down, and you come back to the top again and go all the way down. So I've sewn the inseams and overlocked them already. So the next thing that we need to do is to just turn in one leg of the pant and get it and put it into the other leg. Now align the edges of your crotch line here. So what we are going to do is to just make sure that we are going to join this seam here and continue sewing all the way to the top. Okay, let's do it. So I finished sewing the crotch for the back and overlocked it as well. So now we're moving on to making our waistbands. Get your two sets of waistbands, one which is interfaced and the one which is not interfaced, and pin them on. Now we're going to go to the machine and sew along the edges here and also overlock them. Sew along the edges and overlock them. Then with this bottom part, I'm just gonna go ahead and overlock the bottom part all around. So I've attached all the waistbands, okay, and overlocked the one that's not interfaced. So next step is to just align them one on top of the other, right sides together, like this. So now we're just going and giving it another stitching all the way around 1 centimeter seam allowance. When we finish with that, we're gonna turn it over onto the other side and just under stitch it, okay? Okay, that's our waistband here. So I've just gone ahead and attached the top edge, and then I did a bit of under stitching, as you can see here, and I went ahead and I ironed out the waistband at the top edge like that. Now we attach it to the top of the pants. So starting from the right side of the pant here, I'm gonna attach my waistband, leaving about 1 centimeter seam allowance hanging at the top here. And I'm just gonna put pins right around. So now we just go ahead and sew all around 1 centimeter seam allowance. So the waistband is attached all around. To make sure that you iron your seam allowances to face upwards here so that this can cover it. Next we're just gonna fold our waistband in and sew along the ditch here, making sure to catch this at the back all the way around. Go ahead and fold this back, and this will be folded up as usual, and then you're just gonna go ahead and do a 1 centimeter stitching here for your seam allowance, and then at the end this will be quite flush with this like that, straight up. On this side you do the same, fold along the edge like that, and then you're gonna do a 1 centimeter seam allowance, and then you're gonna go ahead and do a 1 centimeter seam allowance again till you get to the center front here, okay? 1 centimeter seam allowance to the center front. So the waistband is done. I'm happy with the result. So the last thing that's left for us to do is to finish off the hem. So what I'm gonna do is to go ahead and overlap these edges and then finish off my hem. So what we are basically doing here, we are aiming at ending up with a 4 centimeter hem allowance. We're going to fold 8 centimeters up and do a 1 to 2 centimeter stitching here, as long as it's below your hem allowance, which is 4 centimeters. After that stitching, you're gonna go to the front of your pants, go to the front, and then just fold it up. Fold it up so that you are left with 4 centimeters there, and just give it a press. I've done that already for mine. So next I'm just gonna go and tuck the corners. I'm just gonna go and stitch in the ditch here and do the same here so that we keep our hem up all the time. I finished with my hem, so the only thing I'm left to do is to apply my hook and eye, okay?